Going back to intercultural relationships, what is mind reading in that context? And would you say it's a recurring problem?
Oh, yeah. Oh, mind reading is a huge problem. So, when we look at mind reading, there's a weird, I find, association between love and mind reading. We kind of have that whole, oh my God, he totally understood me from the first day. Like I didn't have to explain anything. He just got me, right? We love that. It makes us feel connected. It makes us feel special. I think it comes from childhood. So now let's say you're a baby and you're crying and your mom is like, okay, diaper change, hungry, sleepy, cuddles. Moms kind of know instinctively what their children need when they cry, right? Love, yes, because the baby has an issue, the mom is there to fix it, right? Now, fast forward 5 years down the line, right? Now the child is 5 and the mom goes, did you have a cookie even though I said you couldn't? And the child goes, oh, how does she know? Not realizing that the child's face is covered in chocolate, right? And so again, it feels like parents can read your mind. And oftentimes, because of the love between parents and children, love is associated with knowing someone internally without having to explain, right? Now, fast forward that into relationships. And I find that a lot of people kind of associate mind reading with love. And I think this is where it gets really messy because if I assume that you can read my mind and you behave a certain way that hurts me, then of course you're doing it on purpose, as opposed to realizing that no one can read anyone's mind. I think this is why teenagers have such a hard time with their parents, because they're still coming from a feeling of being understood without having to express what's going on, because all of their lives, that's how it's been. But now they've become so complex that their parents can't read their minds anymore. And that hurts the children and it hurts the parents because parents are like, I don't understand my child anymore. I don't know who this person has become. And children feel really abandoned by their by their parents because they don't feel seen anymore and understood anymore. And so the mind reading thing is a really, really big thing. And I think that, I think we all do it automatically. We all assume that everyone can read our
Without
minds.
realizing, yeah.
And it's very hard to stop and actually have conversations around why someone has done something or said something that they did if it caused me pain, which goes again back to the you do something, I feel something. Usually there's a gap in between that because you're not doing it to hurt me. But if I assume that you can read my mind and you do it, then it must have been to hurt me. And that's, I think, where a lot of people stop thinking with this part of their brain, but instead go into kind of an automatic, like, that person hurt me. What's wrong with them? I'm going to talk to my girlfriends about everything that he said and did. And we're going to analyze it for hours of why he said and did it. And we're going to come up with a solution that must be the right solution because why would we speak to the person who did it? And so that's the danger of mind reading.
I think also when you assume that somebody is mind reading, you put that the other partner in a position of being anxious and hyper aware all the time instead of being themselves. Of course, there's some level of analysis that needs to be done, like looking at facial expressions and understanding,
Sure.
body language. But when someone is expected to constantly mind read, that
Yeah.
person might feel like I need to constantly be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that can put strain on the relationship.
And no one is a good mind reader.
I
No.
think I am.
Well, I think with a little bit of intuition and empathy, you can be a good mind reader. I just think it's really important still to double check because someone can be in a bad mood and you can say something and then you register, the bad mood is being a response to what you said, and you'll then lock that down to never say that again, versus saying, hey, are you grumpy because of what I just said, or are you just grumpy? Right. And I think this is why it's so hard. Communication, everyone hates it, but it's it's the first step, right? Because if I know what you like and what you don't like, and when you react to something and when you don't react to something, and all this stuff, and I've now locked that in as, oh, this is how a lion is, right? Then it becomes a lot easier, right? It's harder than when, say, you change and you're like, guess what? I'm not a lion anymore. Now I'm a leopard. And then we have to start all over again, right? But anyway, but I think that it starts for me, everything starts with benefit of the doubt. that the other person isn't actually trying to hurt me, even when I feel hurt. And then the wherewithal to say, hey, you just did that. That caused something in me. Can you explain why you did it? And did you do it to hurt me? And I can explain why I feel hurt when that happens so that maybe you can decide if you don't want to do it anymore. So it becomes a negotiation again, an open conversation. And now going back to intercultural relationships, I think that monocultural relationships, they kind of have the same set of rules. Punctuality, right? If I'm late when I'm going to a German person's house, yeah, they're going to take it personally, and I know it, and I know to apologize.
Mhm.
So the closer you are to your like home culture with the person that you're with, the easier the relationship is going to be because the less communication is needed and the less triggering it's going to be. And so like the intercultural relationships have to do even more communication to really understand the depth of the culture of the other person and why they behave the way that they do and act the way that they do and feel the way that they do. It is just communication, but I feel like we've been taught communication is difficult. Women use, I don't know, 1,000 more words per day than men, or there's some kind of a calculation, right? And then we've always learned that we can annoy a masculine, like a male partner with too many words, also females, right? But let's just like generalize. And so we become really worried about asking questions and then we don't communicate. But I'm going to say an enlightened partner is happy to communicate because they're like, hey, ask me, be curious about me. It feels nice when someone's curious about you, right?
Mm.
And so then it can be a nice way of kind of bonding and creating your own little bubble where you have your own rules, your own little relationship culture, right? Where you have your own rules. But it does always go back down to communicating.
It's not just about communication, but it's like when you have the communication, it's also about the perspective. Like usually it always feels heavy, difficult, maybe even
Yeah.
attack to ask me a question. Like,
Right.
why are you questioning me?
Right.
But if you reframe it as a curiosity,
Yeah.
that they're curious to know about me,
Yes.
it's all about the framing.
Yes. It's the thing with the animals, right? Like if you're a lion and I'm a dolphin, now asking you why you do the things that you do is not an attack or like a passive aggressive anything. It's like curiosity. And I think that we lack curiosity in relationships because we jump to knowing the other person, the mind reading part, right? And so then also knowing another person speaks more to how we experienced relationships growing up, what we learned was good and bad, than the other person, who they actually are. And I think it's so important to be curious and really get to know the other person, especially in the beginning of a relationship. Because if you start making assumptions and then you get to know this person after 6 months or a year, and then you're like, but they're totally not who I thought they were. But then you're already in so deep that it's really hard to get back out again. And that's, I think, where most of the fights then begin. So, yeah.